Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a fantastic day, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome back to the channel. Before we get into another, hopefully, an informative episode, I want to welcome back to the channel Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
Doing fine, Armando. Glad to be with you talking about this absolutely bonkers album.
Yes, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to On the Side. In this episode, we will be looking at well-known musicians who, aside from their, uh, I guess you'd say their day jobs with
Our
their
day job, yeah.
their uh, their bands, they have found time to explore other avenues for musical output and have joined or put together other bands. In this case, it's a musician who was part of a well-known progressive rock band, but joined a jazz fusion band for at least what we think about 4 years of recording and before work with his main band uh, and his uh, solo career took precedence over side project he had going. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Phil Collins and his work with the band Brand X. Now, Brand X are a jazz fusion band. As I look at my notes here, because I need notes, because I'm an old person here, I need to look at my notes to keep me in check. According to my notes here, Brand X were a British jazz fusion band formed in London in 1974. They were initially active until 1980 between, sorry, my eyes are bad, followed by reformations between 1992 to 2021. Okay. Now, in the band, you had John Goodsall on guitar, Percy Jones on bass, Robin Lumley on keyboards. Robin Lumley also served as a producer. Now, joining the band, you had Phil Collins from 75 to 79. You also had Bill Bruford on drums, along with Phil Collins. And you also had, excuse me, John Giblin on bass. Now, John Goodsall was also in the band Atomic Rooster with Carl Palmer on drums. And in putting together this idea for this show on the side, I Brand X was the first band that came to mind because although I'm not terribly familiar with their work, I was given an album uh, by someone of Brand X to listen to. The album we're going to be looking at is Unorthodox Behavior, released on the 18th of, sorry, yeah, 18th of June. My eyes are bad today, ladies and gentlemen. 18th of June, 1976. The album was recorded between September and October of 1975, so relatively short. Album was produced by Brand X and Dennis McKay, released on Charisma and Passport Records. Charisma in the UK, Passport Records, and Gem Records in the US and North America, with a total playing time of 41 minutes and 1 second. Okay, that is that precise.
It
Seven
is.
tracks in total. Now, this is although I have the albums, they ended up in the Bermuda Triangle across the hall. So listening to this album was a whole new exercise for me. Jim wanted in on this episode because he loves this album.
I
So,
do. I do.
Jim, please give us your experience with this album, Unorthodox Behavior, from Brand X.
I was first introduced to this um, in the early 80s from some buddies of mine in college. We were all big into Genesis, and I was unaware of the Brand X side project until someone kind of said, "Hey, have you heard, what Phil Collins did with this band?" I'm like, "No, I didn't even know it existed." And then he gave me his vinyl copy to play, and I took it back to my dorm room and queued it up, and you know, plop went my head off of my neck. Just this unbelievable thrash of jazz fusion. these days, whenever I think of Phil Collins as a drummer, I tend to go to this album first because this is just
I can
Phil
see why.
just absolutely unleashed. If you take kind of the most this is my favorite period of Phil as a drummer between the Trick of the Tail recordings and the tour with Bill Bruford. Um, and then the subsequent tour for Wind and Weathering that had, he and Chester Thompson back there. This is just the sweet spot for me of in listening to Phil as just someone who's just, creative and thunderous and unrelenting. Um, if you're if Genesis is all you know related to Phil's drumming, or of course In the Air Tonight and the sort of the big bombast stuff that he became
Yeah,
famous for in
the
the
gated
80s.
drum sound. Yeah, no, that,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is like a whole new level of playing where um I don't think he was doing coke in the days. I don't think he was doing speed, but holy cats, is he just playing his little ass off on this album. It's just shocking.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
I mean,
Uh, he said
Goodsall
ass.
and I did, and you just wait. Goodsall and
Oh,
Jones,
oh,
are
okay.
the kind of the heartbeat of this band. They formed it. It was theirs, and they can do some shredding. Percy Jones
Yeah,
on bass is just so creative and fun to
yeah,
listen to. And Phil not only keeps up with them, but he propels them into further areas. And I'm sure we'll sort of get into it track by track. But yeah, as good as I thought Phil Collins as a drummer was in listening to, the first two solo albums and the Genesis stuff up through um, Three Sides Live, um, this is just a whole nother animal.
yeah. First and foremost, the fact that Jim said ass on the show, I have a whole new respect for the man. Now, in listening to this album for the first time, this is not, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, the few of you who don't know, this is not face value. This is not hello, I must be going.
It's not That's
This,
All.
oh, no,
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
no, no. This is not, and I repeat, this is not No Jacket Required by any stretch of the imagination. And I mean any stretch of the imagination. This is just the only way I can describe this album. Again, 7 tracks in total, a 41 minutes and 1 second playing time. This is like boys with their toys, and just an explosion of just unrelenting, unforgiving power and tenacity. Um, if and that's just the first track.
Yeah.
And Nuclear Burn. I mean, first of all, the tracks are lengthy. They're very um there's really no sort of 3 minute commercial single on this album. This is just
There's a couple that are close, like 4.5 minutes, but
yeah,
that's as close as they get to something that's like poppy.
but in terms of AM radio, this is not it. This is just an exercise and wonderful indulgence musically, just unbridled and unstoppable experimentation and wonderment, in my very humble opinion. It's just a great exercise in just doing whatever the hell you want to do
Yep.
without worrying about what's going to be a hit, without constraints from management or record company expectations. And just, again, boys with toys, just having a good time.
Hmm.
Um,
Wielding their toys with deft and fury.
exactly. I mean, okay, the lead off track, Nuclear Burn, uh, 6 minutes and 23 seconds. In my notes I have here, furious bass, great guitar tone, tight arrangement, um, unrelenting 1,000 miles an hour, 1,000 miles per hour vibe in terms of just
Yep.
what you hear sonically. It's just like, my God, it's like, whew. What is your take on we won't go through every track, but this is
Well,
the
it
this
might be worth going through every track because
okay,
there's only seven. But
okay,
yeah, I mean,
7 tracks in total.
yeah,
What?
Nuclear Burn is
Yeah,
this spastic jazz funk workout that kind of bops between like 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, and throughout the whole thing, Phil is just jaw-dropping in what he's doing. Um, and to try to put it in the vocabulary of people who only know him from Genesis, um, you listen, the closest analogs that I could think of would be his performances that are out there from the 76 tour. So the version of Cinema Show that's on Seconds Out, and then the It Watcher of the Skies um, mashup that's on Three Sides Live. If you know Phil's drumming for that, that gives you a taste of the direction that he was going in, where it's just absolutely ferocious, quick tempoed, really creative, these spastic fills. I mean, we all know, doo 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 doo, Phil, became famous from that, but he's just running around the kit in these
yeah,
in these sessions with these, just great big tom runs. I mean, it's just so tight. He's so locked in with
yeah,
what Percy Jones is doing on the bass. And Nuclear Burn is, you know, you throw that in front of someone, and that's Brand X in a nutshell right there. That's 6 minutes and change
yeah.
of
Six
just
twenty
this,
three. Yeah,
yeah, this furious, funky bass line and just Phil doing things that you didn't think could be done on drums.
yeah. No, I would agree. Okay, track two, Euthanasia Waltz, 5 minutes and 42 seconds. In my notes, I have here palette cleanser, nice synth passages, nice acoustic guitar, good prominent bass throughout
Yep.
on this track, as well as the entire album. And there's a nice brief breakdown section on this piece.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are my views on that track. What is your view on this
Yeah,
piece?
I mean,
I
I
mean,
think palate cleanser is a great way to describe it. After the fury of Nuclear Burn, Euthanasia Waltz is this 6/8 piece that's got this acoustic guitar melodic lead. And it's just really nice to kind of hear it. There's this great Rhodes piano solo in here. This kind of dirty and funky bass solo that Percy Jones
mhm,
comes into it. And again, Phil's got these flourishes and accents and crashes throughout, and he's just kind of skirting around the drums here and there in support, especially during the bass solo, just the way he's, just kind of gently kicking things forward on the hi-hat or with, these soft little, bass drum fills that he's, getting on there with his foot. It's
yeah,
just so fun to hear. Again, these are like, I mean, jazz fusion can be challenging for folks that, don't have that kind of jazz vocabulary or just think it's like too out there. But again, if you're a Genesis fan and you sort of gravitate towards those tracks I mentioned too,
mm,
Brand X is a real easy entry point to sort of get into jazz.
yeah, yeah. I can see that. And what I'm noticing about this album, I mean, we'll get into the other songs, but what I'm noticing about this album is that John Goodsall's guitar work on this is just blistering,
Yeah.
just blistering. Um, Track three, Born Ugly. I can relate to that. 8 minutes and 18 seconds. Uh, in my notes, I've got funky, nice use of Moog on this piece, strong bass again, great piano, extended breakdown section, nice thick guitar tone from John Goodsall,
Yeah.
and a great guitar solo. Nice time signature changes. and towards the end, there's like a build-in tempo what I'm hearing on this
Hmm.
piece. Uh, Again, Born Ugly. Your views on this piece? Like,
It's fantastic. This
yeah,
piece has, it starts off with this swinging funk and then kind of downshifts and into the section that has the Moog solo in it. Um, but then it sort of builds back up, it's got these kind of three distinct parts to it. And again, the bass soloing is wonderful. The guitar solos are great. Robin Lumley on keyboards is no slouch either. It's just really fun to hear him play, and he can swing with the best of them, or kind of funk it up with the best of them. But again, Phil is the star here, to me, and maybe that's a bias just because that was my entry point into this record, but
yeah,
you know, um, definitely. All four musicians shine. Born Ugly is a great example of them just sort of working well compositionally and soloing with one another and just being really sensitive to what the other musicians need in terms of support and to kind of keep the tunes propelling forward. But yeah, you finish side one and it's kind of like, as you are fond to say, you need a cigarette because it's just like, what the heck have I just listened to here?
well, yeah, it just blows your mind. I mean, it's like from the word go, like from the first note on the first track, a nuclear burn. It's just like you're like holding on to your seat. You're like, like what am I like? What is this?
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster, a musical roller coaster that's going on. Um,
Right. And the
but
interesting thing is that, as much as we're kind of talking about saying this is really mind-blowing, if you look at other fusion albums that were out in 1975, Lenny White has an album called Venusian Summer,
yeah,
George Duke, The Aura Will Prevail, the Return to Forever album, No Mystery, Billy Cobham's Shabazz. I mean, all of
yeah,
those are kind of fit well within brand X. I mean, obviously each of these albums has their own little kind of tweak to it here or there that doesn't make it right in the brand X wheelhouse. But songs like Mating Drive, Floop de Loop, Flight of the Newborn, and Tori and Matador. I mean, those all sound like they kind of come straight out of brand X sessions. So
yeah,
you know the
yeah.
the Brits here were definitely drinking from the same Kool-Aid that all these other guys were. And
That's
again,
right.
just this list here. Come on, Billy Cobham, Lenny White. I mean, that's completely the stuff that Phil was sort of getting into. You
Getting
throw
into yeah,
George Duke in there, and Phil is on the record about saying how huge a fan he was of Frank Zappa's Roxy and Elsewhere. So that
yeah,
kind of drumming is first and foremost in his head. And of course, that's
yeah.
how um, Chester Thompson got into Genesis because Phil just loved his playing on that album.
Yeah, exactly. And for the record, I have the George Duke, The Error Will Prevail box set on vinyl, and also the Billy Cobham Atlantic Era box set on CD.
Yep.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Cobham
Mm.
Cobham is ferocious, and again,
Oh
if you're
God.
digging the Brand X thing, Billy Cobham, Shabazz, Lenny White's Venusian Summer, those are easy recommendations. Very
Yeah,
drum heavy albums, as you might imagine.
yeah, yeah. And we're okay, we're halfway point in this album. What I like about this album and the band with Phil and Collins in the band is that he's not looking to take center stage. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because, him being in Genesis at this point and them having done The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway and getting momentum in the States in terms of their popularity and in the UK, he's not coming in saying, okay, I'm going to sit in with you, but, we need to make my presence known in the band because I am who I am. I am Phil Collins kind of thing. He's looking to come in as, sneaking in the back kind of way, like just being a part of the band, not
Hmm.
wanting to take the spotlight on himself. And I mean, he is just letting himself go on this album in terms of his drumming and just his. musicality overall.
Hmm.
I think it's wonderful. Okay, we're going to continue, ladies and gentlemen.
Flip the record over.
Flip the record over. Side two starts off with smacks of euphoric hysteria, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. All I have in my notes for this is nice thick harmony guitar on this piece. Uh, your view on this track?
Yeah, I mean it's a tight little track. I mean, to me, this and there's another track on side two that could probably they're the closest ones that could be considered as, single material,
Yeah.
just because they've got some real catchy and hooky guitar lines going on.
Hmm.
This one in particular has got these these nice little keyboard flourishes throughout. And, one of the kind of signatures of Brand X are these, especially on this album, are um, these bass and drum accents and kind of flams, as I call them, that, Phil and Percy do throughout these kind of things that,
Yeah.
he's doing that on the bass and Phil's going smash, and, at the same time. And
Yeah.
it's great. This tune also has these kind of dueling keyboard and guitar solos going on that just really makes it a fun listen.
Hmm.
Not as like mind-blowingly epic as what you're hearing with Nuclear Burn, but it's definitely, it's unmistakably from this session. They're
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just locked in.
I think Nuclear Burn is on a plane on its own. I think that as an album opener, I think in the jazz fusion genre, I think it's just like one of a kind. There's nothing like it that I've ever heard. Uh,
It goes for the throat and just holds
just
you.
like, I'm here, listen to me. And, like, I've got your attention and don't look away kind of thing. Otherwise, you know, pity you that you do kind of thing. Um,
Hmm.
but we must continue, ladies and gentlemen. We have coming up next, uh, track two on side two, the title track Unorthodox Behavior at 8 minutes and 29 seconds. In my notes, I have here again, nice use of Moog and bass on this piece. Relaxed mid-tempo vibe, use of marimba, and really percussive rhythm on this piece.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
It's this
again,
slinky, playful, kind of flirty little tune. I mean, it definitely the title Unorthodox Behavior is very apt of just someone who's maybe doing something a little untoward. And this tune kind of feels that way as it kind of lurks around in this playful, mischievous manner.
hmm yeah, no, it's a great track. This entire album is wonderful. All right, coming up next, we have Running on Three, uh, 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Fast tempo track, great bass for me, and nice guitar tone on this piece.
Yeah.
I love John Goodsong's guitar on this album. It is just smoking. It is wonderful, and he can shred like no one's business when he
Hmm.
has to or when he wants to.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
to me, Running on Three is the just behind Nuclear Burn in terms of like best songs on this album. Um, it explodes in, and then but just Phil's kind of driving it with this hi-hat groove, and then the great melody line with the guitars and the keys, and then Phil just has these snare cracks that kind of keep propulsing this tune forward like it's a freight train.
yeah,
And again, he is just all over the kit, just absolutely wrecking the cymbals and just pounding the toms. It's just it's just again another like 4.5 minutes of just unbridled. Oh my gosh, what is this? It's it's so great,
yeah,
absolutely great.
yeah. No, it is. It's wonderful. All right, the album ends off with Touch Wood at 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Uh, Very unlike any of the other tracks on this album.
You are
Good
right.
album closer. In my notes, I have
Hmm.
a great acoustic guitar and what I call shimmering piano
Hmm.
on this piece.
Yeah.
It's a great way to end off this album.
I
Uh,
agree. This is kind of like their In a Silent Way piece, even though it's got kind of more propulsion. But even in how Phil's driving it forward, he's on brushes, if I recall correctly, and it's just
Mm,
really gentle and subtle. So there's none of
yeah.
the bombast of the earlier tracks. And yeah, it's this great palate cleanser from everything that's sort of come before. It's like you've gone through this entire massive musical meal, and you've even made it through the dessert of like running on three, and now you're just kind of like relaxing after everything is done, enjoying a nice port or something. It's that kind of a feel, that kind of vibe.
I would say cappuccino myself, but because I'm a coffee drinker. But yeah, it's no, it's a great way to end the album. Very uncharacteristic in terms of again the rest of the tracks on the album.
Yeah.
But you know what? It works. It really works. I think it's
Hmm.
just, I think it's their way of saying we're not going to give you what you're expecting from what you've heard prior. This is what we're going to do.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I mean, let me ask you this. I have a feeling here, my opinion of it,
Yes.
but what do you think drew Phil Collins to this band in terms of wanting to sit in and be a part of this project? What was the driving force, do you think?
My guess is that it's it's his love for this kind of music, and B, it probably was just a relief from the highly structured, Genesis playing, where, even the fills are, kind of the same night after night. Just because in Genesis, the drums make up such an important part of what's happening in the tunes compositionally, which is why Bill Bruford didn't work out so well as the backup drummer, because Bruford would just kind of do his own thing, and he wouldn't stick to he'd keep the tempo, and he'd hit the major points, but everything else in between was up for grabs, and he would just be playful back there on the drums. And it's
Yeah,
like, no, Banks and Rutherford, they needed those cues and those hits that was
they
part of the
needed
recordings and whatnot.
they needed it more structured as opposed
Yeah.
to um yeah,
So I think Phil, used this as kind of a playground for him to get all of his wiggles out and just really just sort of go in there and just have a blast. Obviously he's concerned with doing the tunes properly, but there was just this freedom and creativity that Genesis didn't allow for.
yeah.
That's my take on it.
Well, like I said at the top of the episode, I'm thinking like this is like boys with toys. This was just
Yeah.
oh, look what I've got. Look what we can do. Like and this was Phil Collins' way of just like breaking out. Yeah, and you hit it on the head, breaking out of the I guess you'd say confinement of what was known as the Genesis format and
Hmm.
just going at it and just doing whatever he wanted to do musically. And he obviously felt that this band was a right fit for him
Hmm.
uh, in terms of what he wanted to do musically. And I mean, like he stayed with the band until, off and on until 79.
Hmm.
Uh, and the album
Product.
Product, sorry. Okay. Um, until he stayed with the band, ladies and gentlemen, until 79, until commitments for Genesis became too great and his own solo career started to take off with face value.
Hmm.
Uh, but I'll say this, I can hear the Brand X influence on Los Endos, the final
Oh,
track
sure.
on Trick of the Tail. Because when that song kicks in with the drums and the bass, it's like, again, hold on for the ride because it's
Hmm.
unrelenting,
Hmm.
that section of Los Endos. Um,
And even, Watt's Gorilla, or What
yeah,
Gorilla, excuse me,
what
on Wind and
gorilla?
Wuthering,
Yeah,
has a big nod to Phil's Brand X experiences.
yeah, yeah, because the drums that come in fast paced and oh yeah, Yeah, just amazing. I think that this album, um, I think that for me, if anybody out there wants to check out the band Brand X, this is a good, get this album. This is a good introduction to the band in terms of
Hmm.
what they did musically. And it's, you know what, again, be prepared though. This is not face value. This is not anything you've heard him do with Genesis,
Yep.
or solo work. This is a beast all onto its own.
Yeah, I mean,
And
if your Genesis leadings are that's all invisible touch, tonight, 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 this is not the record for you. However, if your Genesis leadings are, you know, more like the fourth side of Three Sides Live and Seconds Out, especially, side four, this is where you go, baby. This is outstanding.
or I'll add too, Duke's Travels and Duke's End,
Oh, yeah, of course.
from Duke. Just pulsating, rhythmic, like out the door. I mean, it's just like, it's taking what you think you know of Phil Collins and just flipping it on its head, kind of thing.
Blowing it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the idea of it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it on the side featuring Brand X and Unorthodox Behavior. I want to thank Jim for joining me on this episode. This has been wonderful. I think this album is fucking great, and I think you guys should check it out. You can get it on Amazon, on Discogs. You can stream the album on YouTube. Again, don't take our word for it. Listen to it yourself and let us know what you think of it, in the comments below. And if you want to support your local record store, go out and get it. Put your cone on if it's cold, walk to the local mall, go to your local record store downtown, and if they don't have it, see if they can order it for you. Because you know what? If you don't have it, you're missing out because this
Yeah.
is bloody good. I mean, it's like, I need another coffee after this. I promise you, this is that good. So, again, I want to thank Jim for joining me on this informative episode, hopefully entertaining. Uh, but of course, and we will be back with more episodes. We're going to bring them to you as quickly as we can. We're working on another episode that we're going to be talking about new music discovery on Snarky Puppy. We're going to be talking about that coming up. And we're doing more episodes with Jim, with Ken Cheshire, Sagosh, and yes, eventually Bill Schuster. And I failed to mention this, but we are working on securing dates for another taping of an episode called oh God, Essential 70s Playlist with Don Bradop. We're doing our favorite 70s tracks that we consider to be essential tracks to listen to through the 70s from 1970 to 1979. That's going to be an ass burner of a show. And we're going to get all these episodes to you as quickly as we possibly can. So, again, click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of these episodes coming up and any other episode that we've got coming up for you. And please look after yourselves and one another. Again, wherever you are, if it's cold, keep warm. If you don't need to go out, if it's snowing like it is here where I am, if you don't need to go out, if you got everything you need in the house, don't go out. It's not proper to go out right now.
Taint
It's
fit for man nor beast.
saying the man that's got a wonderful backdrop to look on, yelling behind him. But where I am in Edmonton, Alberta, it is bloody cold. It is frozen over, and it's dangerous to drive. If you don't have to, stay home. And please, again, look after yourselves and one another. We'll see you soon again on the Music Den. Bye for now.